The UN defines a child as any person under the age of 18 years, and this is in line with Article 1 of the Convention on the Rights of the Child. And this convention constitutes the basis for universal recognition of specific rights for children and establishes that children actually deserve special care and attention because of their developmental process has not been completed. And this means throughout childhood and adolescence, children have different capacities and needs than adults. Having said that, children's relationship and environment can also have a deep influence on development processes.
So Hadiza, the research and the data shows that poverty and living in rural areas are more strongly associated with child marriage globally. So what has been UNICEF's approach in solving the issue of child marriage in a situation where it's seen as at the lesser of the two evils?
Thank you. So UNICEF adopts multi-sectoral approaches to respond to the issue of child marriage. So there's an emphasis on investing in prevention programs, creating awareness and engaging directly with communities, parents and caregivers to address gender inequalities or harmful norms that contribute to child marriage. And in that also the promotion of gender equitable social norms, attitudes and behaviors. It's also very important to look at the legal and policy framework that exists to respond to the very high rates of child marriage. And what UNICEF does to support that is advocacy for implementing the Child Rights Act. As you might know, there's been a lot of pushback in the past in terms of implementation of the Child Rights Act, but Nigeria has come a very long way, and a lot of states are starting to implement the Child Rights Act. Also, UNICEF has been in Nigeria is currently supporting the research and the study on the economic impact, to see what that is costing. What that is costing Nigeria as a country in terms of development outcomes, public health outcomes, education outcomes, and so forth.
I'm curious to know, we've seen a decline in the number of child marriages around the world, and UNICEF has also pointed that out in many of their publications. Countries like Guinea-Bissau, Gambia, Gabon, Ghana, and Togo, where they have seen the greatest decline. And I'm wondering the similarities or the differences with country where that decline has not been as strong. And also, how is UNICEF working with religious leaders to ensure that some of the things and policies that you're advocating for are also understood on the religious level?
So as you know, Nigeria has the third highest number of married girls in the world. So in terms of absolute numbers, and that's about 3.3 million in the latest surveys in 2017. And at least 43% of girls and women, so nearly 22 million, which is quite significant. In terms of the data trends, there's been a 9% decline in the prevalence of child marriage since 2003. However, because of the rapid increase in population growth, the number of child brides could increase by more than a million by 2030, and this could indeed double by 2050. And this is also as a result of the pandemic, which shows that there's an estimated 10 million more girls that would be at risk of becoming child brides. This is globally. So there are a lot of factors that threaten to roll back the progress. So it's a modest decline, and there's a need to scale up efforts and accelerate efforts if we are to see a decline or an end to child marriage by 2030, which is under the agenda for 2030, the SDGs. So coming to your second question about engagement with religious leaders. UNICEF has indeed works extremely closely with religious leaders in line with the government policies, an approach that recognizes them as key stakeholders. They need to be consulted, at all stages of programming, at the stages of design, to help religious leaders work with them through approaches to include within their sermons approaches that discourage child marriage. So this has been a very successful approach that is being replicated across the board.
Thank you so much for that. I want to jump in with another question to do with factors that may lead to the reduction in child marriages, modernization and education, which around the world seem to have organically led to the reduction of child marriage. Do you see that happening in the West African region? And if not, what can be done differently?
Absolutely. Indeed, education has been used as a delay tactic to delay child marriage. And one of the ways that UNICEF has supported this is not only strengthening education outcomes and increasing access to education, particularly to children in rural areas, but it's also emphasizing the cash transfer programs, which also encourage young people who are out of school, as well as their caregivers, their parents, to ensure increased school enrollment and attendance rates, to get literacy and life skills, numeracy skills, to give them better outcomes in life.
Seeking an education and getting married young or child marriage, are they mutually exclusive, or is there a way to substitute what would otherwise be a complete lack of education?
We're looking at the impact of child marriage. A child is somebody that is not fully developed in terms of their mental capacity to be able to make choices that have a huge impact on their life outcomes. When we look at the figures as far as the impact on public health, such as complications of early childbearing, obstructed labor, which affects an estimated 200,000 women and girls every year in Nigeria. So essentially, it's about looking at how to improve the outcomes, in the best interest of a child, and ensuring that they're put on the road to getting quality life.